That's been since the shooting of 29-year-old Jacob Blake. Blake was shot 7 times in the back by police and he was left paralysed. Meanwhile, Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden has accused Trump of stoking violence. For more, we're joined by Kate Fisher from Washington. Kate, thank you for being with us as always. Where is the president right now?
He is just about to arrive in Kenosha, the place you're just talking about there, where Jacob Blake, a black man, was shot by police officers last weekend. And since then, there has been a spate of violence throughout the city in response to this unrest that began as peaceful protests, but ended up with 2 people being killed, shot to death by someone in the street during one of these protests last week. So the president is arriving in Kenosha. He says he wants to meet the police officers, the law enforcement who have been trying to protect the city. It is controversial, though, because the Democratic leaders of that city, both the governor of the state of Wisconsin and the mayor of Kenosha, have asked the president not to come and visit them at this time. They say they are just about beginning to restore calm to their streets, and they feel that a visit by him would just stoke the fires of unrest once again. And so they've asked him not to come. He's rejected that, got on his plane anyway, and is due to arrive there imminently, despite the fact it's been made clear that he isn't really welcome there. The family of Jacob Blake, the man who was shot by police officers, have said they don't want to meet with the president either, suggesting that they don't want their son's life to be used as a political football, as a political photo opportunity. Yeah. So although he's arriving there, he will not be welcomed by everybody.
And put this in the political context for us, Kate, where he's saying that he is the man to restore and maintain law and order, accusing the Democrats of stoking violence, but they're saying Donald Trump himself very problematic.
That's right. This plays directly into what Donald Trump is trying to use as his main voting campaign promise, if you like. He's saying to voters that I am the president, I am the candidate for law and order, I'll be tough on crime. If you want to bring peace back to your streets, you need to vote for me. The irony of that, of course, is that he is currently the president. He's in charge at the moment, and this is still happening. So Joe Biden and the Democrats are making the argument saying, hang on a minute, you've got the opportunity to sort things out, you are in charge, and this is still happening. Vote for us and we will work with everybody in the community to try to find resolutions to this, as opposed to making it a partisan issue, trying to divide communities, black against white, rural against urban, and those things that Donald Trump likes, the issues he likes to pick on to cause division. Joe Biden is saying, vote for the Democrats to bring cohesive consensus, working together. Don't vote for the man who, on his watch, there has been all this violence and unrest. Yet the president is trying to suggest that it is he, despite what's going on now, it is only he that can bring law and order to the streets of America.
Well, how bad is it? Because the president, Trump himself, has sort of implied that certain cities would be burning down right now if it wasn't for law enforcement officials. And another hotspot is Portland. So there was overnight activity. I mean, how bad is the violence right now?
Yeah, that's right. He is full of these phrases about how if he hadn't intervened in places like Portland, it would be burned to the ground. He said the same thing about Kenosha in Wisconsin. But the reality is that most people who are actually on the ground there, most of the journalists and the kind of first-hand eyewitness accounts of the people who live there are saying these are small pockets of disturbances. This is not the whole city. It is not the whole state. state, these are very, very small numbers of people who are causing a big disturbance. And the idea that this is a huge problem is just not true. Again, this plays into the idea that Donald Trump sees this as a way of gaining votes, of gaining support. If he can instill enough fear in the population to say, you know, your city is at risk, your homes, your district are at risk, then he will get people to vote for him.
Well, finally, Kate, for many, this race is a bit too close for comfort. How are voters sort of reflecting in the polls? How are they reacting to the rhetoric of Donald Trump versus Joe Biden around what's happening?
Yeah, the polls are very close indeed. You're right. Joe Biden still remains in the lead in most of them. But of course, Donald Trump loves to be the underdog. He actually is probably more comfortable in that situation because it gives him something to rail against. He's appealing to his voters, you know, help me, save me from the Democrats. You know, I need you to come out. So he is trailing a little bit. Joe Biden is in front. But as we know from 2016, the polls should not necessarily be relied upon to deliver what the result of the election will be. And I'm sure, despite the lead, Joe Biden's team are very aware that they cannot count on anything. And that is another reason why Donald Trump is doubling down on this idea of law and order and making cities and cities being unsafe, because he's hoping that people's fear and concern about their communities will lead them to vote for him.
All right, we watch with interest. Thank you very much for SABC News, our correspondent in Washington, Kate Fisher. We take a short break, more to come.